Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the Business and Utilities Subcommittee. Today is Wednesday, March the 24th, 2021 at 3:30 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you take the roll, please?
Representatives Alexander, Calfee, Hazelwood, Hodges, Holsclaw, Johnson, Manis, Thompson, Vaughn, Zachary, Chairman Boyd.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we get started today, members, do we have any personal orders? If not, just a few administrative items. Item number 3 has been taken off of notice. Item number 8 has been taken off of notice. Item 10 has been taken off of notice. And item 6 has been rolled 1 week. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started here. First up is House Bill 771 by Leader Lambert. It looks like Representative Hastings is going to be running that. Do we have a motion and a second on this bill? We have a motion. We have a second. Chairman Hastings, you are recognized.
Thank you. And I believe I have an amendment on this, 4900, that makes the bill.
4900. That's what I'm showing. Do we have a motion or a second on the amendment? We have a motion on the amendment. Do we have a second? Second. We are on the amendment. Chairman Hastings, you're recognized on your amendment.
All right. Thank you. The amendment makes the bill. This administration bill seeks to improve the registered apprenticeship system in Tennessee by establishing a state apprenticeship agency. This will help improve our registered apprenticeship system by streamlining the application process and increasing completion rates. Simply put, it's hard to be what you can't see. The more apprenticeship opportunities we can create, the more students we will see reach their career goals. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you for that explanation, Chairman Hastings. Members, do we have any questions for the sponsor? I know we have some folks here that could testify, but I'd rather them not if the committee doesn't need to hear them. So. Question's been called on the amendment. Members, we are voting on amendment 4900. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Chairman, you're recognized if you have any additional explanation on the bill.
I renew my motion.
Question on the bill has been called. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 771 to send it to full commerce. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Bill passes, and your bill is on its way to full commerce. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Members, next up we have House Bill 1064 by Chairman Curcio. We have a motion, we have a second, and Chairman Curcio, it looks like there is an amendment. Can you check that drafting code for me, please?
Yes, sir. The amendment is coded 4332, and it does make the bill.
Okay, that's what I'm showing too. Do we have a motion and a second on the amendment? All right, we are on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr.
Curcio.
Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, committee. Members, this bill will provide landlords with protections against claims of negligence in renting, leasing, or otherwise extending housing opportunities to formerly incarcerated individuals. The protections provided by this bill as amended will not apply in situations where landlords knew the renter, the lessee, or the tenant had been convicted of a violent or a sexual act or offense, or if the renter, lessee, or tenant is subsequently convicted of a violent or sexual offense and the landlord allows the renter to stay. So we're talking about providing liability protections to landlords who rent to folks who maybe have a criminal background, but they're low-level, non-violent, non-sexual folks. To talk a little bit about the need for this, I know Representative Manis and I were in Knoxville along with several other folks a couple of weeks ago, and a dear friend of mine is opening up a facility in Knoxville, and he made a point. He's been very successful in business, but he was incarcerated in his very early 20s, and he said, I own every apartment building on this block, but I can't rent one. And so what we're trying to do as we continue to reform our criminal code is we separate who we're mad at versus who we're afraid of. We want to make sure that these folks that yes, they've made a mistake, but they've paid their debt to society, could come out. And so this approach really is not so much focused on that former offender. It's more focused on somebody who may own an apartment complex who says, look, I would take a chance on a guy, but I don't want to have a target on my back from a liability suit, standpoint. So this is just saying that can't be the sole reason that they would be held liable for something that happened. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Members, you've heard that explanation on the amendment. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Sponsor, I do have a question. Just to clarify, I know we've had several conversations around this, but this just offers additional protection to the landlord. This is not necessarily requiring them to rent to any sort of prior felon or anything like that. This
Nothing
just
like
gives them a little bit more protection, or if they choose to do so. That's correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, that's exactly right. Nothing in this bill would compel anyone to do anything. We just wanted to provide that additional level of protection if it was needed. Was remiss, if you don't mind, I forgot to say that the bill as amended is also endorsed or supported by the Tennessee Apartment Association.
Okay. Appreciate you bringing that. Chairman Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Curcio, I think it's important that we note the exclusions. Can you mention those one more time, please?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in fact, let me just read from the amendment itself. So the protection does not apply when the landlord had actual knowledge of a person's prior conviction for a violent offense as defined in 4035-120B, which is where all the violent offenses are listed, or a violent sexual offense as defined in 4039-202. So these are non-violent, low-level type folks. And again, nothing would compel anyone to rent to them, but if they do, you just won't be held liable solely basis on that fact.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Members, do we have any more questions for the sponsor? If not, we are voting on Amendment 4332 to put on the bill. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Chairman Curcio, we are back on your bill as amended. Do you have any additional explanation?
No, sir, thank you. I renew my motion.
Okay. If not, we are voting on House Bill 1064 to send it to full commerce. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Chairman, your bill is moving to full commerce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your time today. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right. Next up is item number 4. That's House Bill 1044 by Representative Hall. Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion. We have a second. Representative Hall, you are recognized, and it looks like we do have an amendment. I'm showing drafting code 4984.
Yes, sir, that is
Is
correct.
that correct? Okay. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second on that amendment. Representative Hall, you're recognized on your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and colleagues. House Bill 1044, very narrowly drafted. It was brought to me by the Speaker. It increases the members of the Public Utilities Commission from 5 members to 7, and it also extends the amount of time from 30 to 90 days to fill those appointments. And I renew my motion.
Okay, members, you have heard that explanation. Do we have any questions for Representative Hall on his amendment? If not, we are voting on Amendment 4984 to put it on the bill. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. The amendment goes on the bill. Representative Hall, do you have any additional explanation on the bill as amended?
I just renew my motion, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Members, we are now voting on House Bill 1044 to send it to full commerce. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Representative Hall, your bill is on its way to full commerce.
Mr. Chairman,
Congratulations.
Committee, thank you.
Next up is item number 5. And that's House Bill 390 by Representative Harris. We have a motion. We have a second. Representative Harris, I see a couple of amendments on here.
So Chair, the amendment that we're going to go with is 5737.
5737. Okay, I've got that. And do we have a motion and a second on the amendment? We have a motion. We have a second. Representative Harris, you are recognized on your amendment.
Great. Thank you so much, Chairman, and to the committee for being so gracious and listening to this bill. HB 390 does 3 specific things, nothing more, nothing less. It would prohibit against disconnecting service for non-payment on a legal holiday. Secondly, it would require that utility companies establish a policy on disconnection of service for non-payment of services, which most utility companies already do. And lastly, it would require that if someone pays a bill that they are not cut off for more than 24 hours after they pay that bill for non-payment. I've spoken with a few of you about this bill, and for anyone who understands what it is like to be cut off on a Friday and have to go 72 hours and a whole weekend without service, you know how hard that can be. Hardships happen, and I do believe in good intent and don't think people intentionally want to see their utilities disconnected, but it does happen. This bill would simply say that if you plan to disconnect my utilities for non-payment, that at least allow me a business day after disconnecting to where I can be able to pay, rectify the situation, and be reconnected. So if you disconnect me on a Friday and I pay, well, on that Saturday, I should possibly be reconnected. But if at all possible, disconnect me on a Thursday so that I have a business day to get funds from the bank or get paid on that Friday to be able to satisfy non-payment, and then allow me to be reconnected so I don't have to go multiple days without utilities. I particularly believe this bill makes sure that elderly and ill residents are not cut off from vital resources. It will ensure that residents are not without power during harsh weather. It will help thousands of Tennesseans who are living paycheck to paycheck time to gather up the funds to pay the utility bill and protect families who are going through a rough time financially. This bill has a not significant fiscal note impact, and I've spoken with a great number of utility companies, actually worked with some utility organizations to actually recraft this entire bill. So this amendment will make the bill. And with that, I refer back to the chair.
Thank you for that explanation, sponsor. Members, do we have any questions on the amendment? If not, we are voting to put Amendment 5737 on the bill. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. The amendment goes on the bill. Representative Harris, we are back on your bill as amended. Do you have any further explanation?
No further explanation. I do want to say that I did get this endorsed by the utility organization that helped me work this bill to make sure that it actually was worded correctly. So with that, I refer it back to the chair.
Okay. Members, do we have any questions for the sponsor on this bill? If not, we are voting on House Bill 3. Yes, Chairman, would like to have a roll call vote, okay? Madam Clerk, if you'll do a roll call vote, please.
Representative Alexander? No. Representative Calfee? No. Hazelwood? No. Hodges? Yes. Holsclaw? No. Johnson? No. Manis? Yes. Thompson? Yes. Vaughn? Yes. Zachary?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes and 7 noes.
Bill fails.
Great. Thank you, committee.
Next up, we're on item number 7. That's House Bill 1497 by Representative Towns. I see you, Representative Towns. Stand by just a minute, Representative Towns. Representative Towns, you are recognized on your bill. Do we have a motion and a second on the bill? We have a motion, we have a second. Representative Towns, you recognized on your bill.
Thank you again. Members, this bill, just FYI, it's already passed on the Senate side, and the initiative is towards public safety. What we're trying to do is to ensure that people that are participating in pyrotechnics, you know, it's real pretty, it's nice, but it's dangerous, very dangerous. I think we had a little incident in Nashville here where a propane deal blew up at one of the games and something of that nature. And you've seen this stuff happen around the country too, where it could be very, very dangerous. But we love to see it because we love fireworks. So what happened is that the department and the industry got together and created this deal where we're going to try to increase the requirements for pyrotechnic training, okay? So we can ensure that they're safe, okay? You don't want to ban it or do anything of that nature because it's almost a part of our culture. We got a big major football game or a major deal. So what it does, it just simply tries to improve the training. They're working together in hopes that we don't have an additional incident like the one that happened at the Titans game. And this bill will take the licensures also from 2 years to 3 years, as requested by the department. It does not affect the municipality's displays during the 4th of July or anything of that nature. And for the most part, also the fees in the statute, there's no increase of fees or anything of that nature. It stays the same. I think they're currently $150, okay? All that stays the same. It's really to try to provide more safety, public safety. In essence, that's what it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for that explanation, Representative Towns. Members, do we have any questions for the sponsor? If not, we are voting on House Bill 1497 to send it to full commerce. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. And the bill is on its way to full commerce. Thank you, Representative Towns. Members, next up is House Bill 704 by Representative Hicks. We have a motion. We have a second. Representative Hicks, you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Committee. This is brought to me by sign companies in our area and all over the state of Tennessee. Currently, to erect a sign that is more than $25,000, sign companies would be required and are required to be licensed contractors. Signs today, you know, it's just like everything else. The cost of them are going up. A lot of them are digital now. So that really brings that cost up over the $25,000 limit, which is really becoming a problem. These sign companies are typically small businesses. They're normally sign companies about like we get our campaign signs from. They're growing, and we need to help them to do that. We just don't think that they really need to be a contractor. Many of them are circumventing the law by partnering with the contractors that are doing the job that they're working on, or actually getting contractors to get their permits for them. So we don't think they need to be doing that. They're missing out on a lot of jobs. Most of the time, and well, really all the time, these signs are engineered and they're inspected. So that should be well and good enough to put up a sign. We believe that sort of these sign companies, when the cost started going up and they started getting permits that was over $25,000, they just sort of lumped them into a contractor's deal. I believe that's what's been going on. This bill passed through the Senate with a 30-0 vote. So at this time, I just answer any questions anybody's got.
Thank you for that explanation, sponsor. Members, do we have any questions for Representative Hicks? Chairman Hazelwood, did you have a question?
Just a comment. I was going to thank the sponsor for bringing this because I think inadvertently we were getting in the way of business, and we don't ever intend to do that in this state. So I think this will do exactly what he said and allow these folks to continue to do basically the same work they've been doing. It's just that cost increases are minimums or maximums, whichever way you want to look at it, just haven't kept up with those cost increases. So thank you for bringing the bill.
Members, anyone else have a question or comment for the Representative Hicks? Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
I just want to say, thank you, Chairman. I just want to say thanks to my partner in crime here from Washington County for bringing this bill to us. It's a very appropriate bill. Thank you very much.
Members, any more questions for the sponsor? If not, we are voting to send 704 to full commerce. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Representative Hicks, your bill is on its way to full commerce. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Committee.
Members, we're going to reconsider our actions on item number 5. That's House Bill 390. I think in an effort to do that roll call count, we might have got our numbers a little jumbled. So, Representative Harris, you are recognized in the, well, again, come back up here, please. And so, Madam Clerk, if you will take roll, and this is House Bill 390 that we voted on a minute ago with a roll call dealing with the utilities being shut off the day before. So, Madam Clerk, if you'll take the roll.
Representative Alexander,
No.
Calfee. Hazelwood. Hodges. Holsclaw. Johnson. Manis. Thompson. Vaughn. Zachary.
Aye.
Chairman Boyd. Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes and 5 noes.
Representative Harris, your bill passes and it's going to full commerce.
Oh, thank you, committee.
And that does not happen often, members, so that's a first for me. Next up, members, we're on item number 11. That's House Bill 817 by Representative Clemens. We have a motion. We have a second. Representative Clemens, you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to see if I can ride this lucky wave. This bill does two things. One, it eliminates the regulatory hurdle for municipal electric plants to provide broadband services to jurisdictions outside of their own. We passed that bill a few years ago. They put a provision in there boxing them in to their jurisdictions, and I opposed it then, and unfortunately it was part of the bill that passed. And then this bill also increases upload and download speeds to set a minimum that matches the FCC's definition of broadband. Because right now what we have are in the code, the numbers that we have don't even meet that definition of broadband. So when we provide grants, like the governor thankfully intends to do this year with his proposed $200 million, even those that choose to do that aren't even required to provide broadband services under that grant program currently in the code. So this seeks to address that as well. But as we all saw this year during the pandemic, a lot of students, I had people emailing me from McDonald's parking lots because they didn't have internet service, trying to get help with unemployment. We had students across the state of Tennessee who couldn't get access to the internet to do their classwork or learn virtually. They were literally going, risking their health and safety, trying to get into libraries or working in a car outside of a restaurant. That is simply unacceptable in the state of Tennessee. Right now, one regulatory hurdle that's easy to eliminate is eliminating this jurisdictional boundary that we created a few years ago, and we should be allowing these municipal organizations to provide these services. We have several municipal broadband providers. Currently, we have EPB, Bristol, Jackson, Clarksville, Tullahoma, Morristown, Columbia, Irwin, Pulaski, Bright Ridge, Milan, Newport, Union City, Athens, and Dixon just recently announced that they intend to do this. This is an opportunity to provide broadband access to parts of Tennessee which are currently inaccessible. With that, I ask for your support.
Thank you for that explanation, Representative Clemens. Members, do we have any questions? Chairman Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Clemens, while I certainly do appreciate the sentiment, and we have had this conversation in finance for the last, I guess, couple of months regarding broadband expansion and the governor's $200 million he's placing within the budget and the additional $150 million he's placing within the budget. Two things that I have serious concerns with the bill. First is the redefining the broadband services. To be perfectly transparent, I don't care what the FCC definition is. Based on the real-world experience and the experience I have working in all 48 states providing broadband service to the smallest of offices all the way up to some of the largest Fortune 50 companies. When you are dealing with areas that are unserved and areas that are underserved, it is extremely important to make the distinction between those two. And anytime you are working in an area that is unserved, like you and I probably have that surround our districts, areas in mind like Loudoun County and Blount County, if I can go into those areas and provide them with 10 meg down and 1 meg up, I've completely changed the trajectory of that community. And so redefining that puts certain limitations on broadband providers and those communities that, again, would absolutely be thrilled with 10 meg up and 1 meg down, and redefining that to 20 meg and 3 meg is a leap too far. Now, when you're talking about underserved areas that may be at 6 meg DSL or maybe an 8 meg wireless connection, that's something that can be considered. But the differentiation between those two are extremely important. And then the last point that will bring me to a no on this bill is we set those parameters for the municipalities, for those broadband providers to operate, the electric co-ops and the electric broadband providers to operate in those areas for a reason. Those entities receive government subsidies and are funded by taxpayer dollars, and those, when you begin to break down those barriers and remove the barriers allowing them to compete against Comcast, AT&T, Charter, WOW, CenturyLink, whomever it is, that creates an unfair advantage, and it begins a competition, again, with a government, basically a government subsidy competing against the private sector. And so for that reason, I cannot support this bill.
Representative Clemens?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I think you're right. I think if you give somebody anything that they don't have, it's a step forward and it's progress. But right now, our bar is too low. The widely accepted definition of broadband is what I have in this legislation, and that really makes that distinction makes a difference. And you know, while the minimums in code right now are great, and if you can get that to somebody, fantastic. But that bar is too low. I don't think there's any dispute about that. And it also makes a real difference when you're trying to recruit businesses. If businesses are looking at two different places, and especially in some of our underserved or what we can call distressed counties now that don't have access, if they could get this minimum definition of broadband that's widely recognized as a definition of broadband for upload and download speeds, that they're going to choose the one that has the faster access, hands down, every time. And so that is important. As we are now progressing well through the 21st century, technology is key, access is key. So I think I've got the bar too low. With regards to the funding, I understand private competing with public. I understand that argument. However, these are self-sufficient. Their budgets are bifurcated. So these municipalities are paying to provide services with consumers' fees for the services. So the state, it isn't we're pumping money into these and they're using that to provide that service. That service is paying for itself through consumer fees and its users. So that argument, I understand where you're coming from there, but that's a distinction that must be made. And the reality is, some of these private companies, which I love, represent some of them, and they big employers here in Nashville, obviously, and across the state of Tennessee. But if they wanted to be in those areas, they would be in those areas. They would be providing service in those areas. What we have the opportunity to do is provide services to a company that's already providing broadband services. They already have the infrastructure, and they're just taking it out a little bit further to areas that nobody's providing them services in. So there really is no competition because nobody's spending the money to provide them those services. So, it really fills in a gap there that's really having a real impact on local economies and families.
Chairman Zachary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, as I mentioned, the governor has an initiative to try to get broadband to everybody through his $200 million initiative. We have $150 million coming from the federal government. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we roll this to the first calendar of 2022.
That is a proper motion. We have a second. Without objection, first calendar of 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
Next up, item number 12, House Bill 24 by Representative Warner. And Representative Warner, I see two amendments on here. Is there, or do they both going on, or is there just one of them?
Yes, sir, both amendments.
Okay, well, let's start with the first one, which is amendment number 2722. Members, do we have a motion and a second? We didn't get a motion second. Okay. Members, disregard that on the amendment. We actually haven't got a motion or a second on the bill. Do we have a motion or a second? Representative Warner, it looks like your bill fails for lack of a motion.
Thanks, sir.
Members, that concludes our business for today. Without objection, this meeting is adjourned.